Hi guys, welcome to Tash and Beck's Flex. We are really excited and happy to introduce to you today Tony Sayers. And he's a really interesting chap we've been wanting to speak to because he's calling out the new age false light, which we've waffled a little bit about. But I particularly wanted to talk to Tony because I'm a healer, Tony's a healer. And I think we've both been working outside of the usual realms. Would you say, Tash?
You certainly don't work within, the love and light.
No. So, but anyway, welcome, Tony. Welcome to the Tash and Beck's Flex. Thank you for coming on today.
It's great to be here, and I love your energy, both of you together. I think it's going to be a lively one.
It will be lively.
You got very cheeky energy about you two.
Cheeky.
We get away with a lot with it, don't we?
Sometimes.
Yeah. Tony, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself? Because I'm aware that you were trained in Reiki, so you obviously came in to healing work or whatever through those channels. Can you give us a sort of rundown of what happened and what brought you to question in the first place and where that's brought you now?
Yeah, I mean, although I was into Reiki, this is like back when I quote unquote woke up like 10 years ago now. You fall into these things because there's nothing else there, right? It's like, oh, I'm actually more than just human. I'm spiritual. And then, of course, what you look around for spiritual stuff and you're bombarded with all the new age stuff, which, I'll go on to talk about. It's just full of deception. It's just basically a heap of junk, really. But so I was never like really into it all. But I did do Reiki. I did the 3 levels, and even then I was like, I don't like being called a Reiki master. That felt really off to me. I didn't like that label.
Yeah. You're never a master in anything, are you? Let's be honest.
No.
Yeah, and it's like that hierarchical thing, you know. It's like you're a master, someone else is beneath you, and this is how this matrix works. It always wants to present something as higher, or it knows more than you, or some kind of savior. I mean, don't get me wrong, we can get information from people and all that kind of stuff, and people can be helpful. It's just the problem is people are not showing discernment, and they're going with anything, and particularly in the new age movement, they're going with what feels good. And of course, it all feels good. Angels, like light language and all the other, nonsense that gets thrown in there. It all feels amazing. But is it true? And is it beneficial? And down the years, 10 years of working with clients now, I've got so many horror stories that I could tell. I mean, one day I'm going to write a book of where people have connected with these quote unquote light beings, and they've followed the advice, and their life's just gone into, they've lost their home, they've lost their marriage, they've lost their finances, even to the point where they've followed like who they thought were deceased people. So it's a truth no one wants to hear, but these entities are masters at masquerading, and they will present themselves as beings that have got your best interest. And I was even having a conversation today in my training group that I run, that we were saying that how they will give you some nuggets of truth, give you a little bit of sugar, and then once they've got your trust, that's when they pull the rug. They rug pull. So many examples of that. One particular guy who thought he was dealing with his deceased dad. This entity was telling him all this stuff that he knew, because they know us, and he was like, oh, it must be my dad, because how else would he have known that? And so he followed all the advice, and he ended up losing everything. Another one thought she was channeling Archangel Michael, and again this entity helped find her lost cat. And so after that she was like, oh well, this is the truth, this is Archangel Michael's helping me. Anyway, turns out that this entity was getting her to run this whole new age agenda that was locking people into like this false light grid and siphoning off their energy, and it all ended up in a terrible mess. And so what I'm saying is, look, we need to be looking at this stuff. But sorry, I diverted from your original question, which actually I forgot
It's okay. I wanted you to talk about how you got to to questioning, and which you kind of covered. But and then the other part of it was sort of where you are now with it. What because obviously you do healing work.
Yes. So how I got to it was like I said to you, like I wasn't really deep into it all. I went in as far as Reiki and maybe a few other things, but I wasn't like a big time New Ager. A lot of it didn't resonate with me. Yeah. And I remember one very, very strong example right at the very start. I went on a protest in London. I forgot what one it was, some war that we were involved in, Syria or something like that.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
Yeah, there's always something, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I met this guy, he was 19, right? And he was like full of fire in his belly, right? I mean, at that time, I had a lot more energy with all this stuff myself. I'd just woken up like, fuck the system and all that stuff, right? Now I'm like completely exhausted by it all. But this guy was like, I'm like, wow, he knows so much. Like I was like 30 something at the time. And I'm like, wow, he's 19. He knows he was so knowledgeable. He had all this passion. I'm like, he's going to be like a game changer. Like, I swear I could see this guy's potential. I even said to him, like, man, if you carry on, like you're going to be such a help in this world. And we stayed in contact, and then I lost contact with him for a month or two. And then I met up with him on another march, and he turned up with an Eckhart Tolle book underneath his arm. Completely different person. All the spark had left him, all the passion. He was just saying, look, we just need to be loved, and I was like, man, what has happened to this dude? Like he was like, and ever since that was the first moment I thought something's not right with all of that, because this guy's lost his character. He's actually lost his character, because they say
his
essence. Yeah. And they'll say in the New Age that when you say things like that, well, you're in your ego. They demonize the ego in the New Age. Well, you need a healthy ego in this.
Yes, you do. Part of your protective mechanism, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. And so they want to destroy the ego, which destroys the personality. I mean, think about a world without an ego. There would be no art, there would be no creativity, no one would write any books. It would just be, you would end up like these people, like all blank canvases, the lights are on, but no one's home. This is what they're like. And they're all like fake love and light. And
they always say, I have no ego.
Always.
And I always say,
I know, which is the most egoic thing you could say.
The only way to get rid of your ego as a human being is to die, because it's an intrinsic part of the human makeup. So it's just like, what the hell?
Yeah, they never have egos, do they?
I don't have an ego. I don't. I'm too holy for that.
Oh, absolutely. So that was the first time that I really thought, all that spiritual stuff, I don't know about all that. And but then
we saw a palpable change in somebody. I think we learn through experience, our own personal experience, and that was very, very palpable to you, that this person had completely lost their essence. As if something else
been brainwashed,
or he's got an attachment, one of that is just fucking that connection off.
Well, I mean, when you go
in its own energy, that's what happens.
Yeah, when you go into the deeper metaphysics of it, or what I've since found out through the years, is that what people are doing is, when they're getting into the New Age, they're connecting into a false white light energy grid, false white light energy grid, which is a little bit like, I don't know if you girls back in the day ever took ecstasy. I don't recommend it now. Yeah. So it's
we were just talking about that earlier.
Yeah, it's a little bit like that. It's like you love everything loves you, but then there's the massive crash afterwards. And people are tuned in to this false white light grid, which is a lot of these prominent New Agers are tuned into. And that's why when they talk, when you watch them, it's that lights are on, no one's home, loss of essence, as you call it, loss of essence, because they are now connected into that false white light grid. So that's what's going on energetically with New Agers. But to go back to, how I started to unpeel the layers of the deception of the New Age really goes back to the chakras, which is a really triggering subject for a lot of people. And one of the reasons I get a lot of hate, which I can take, is that about 7 or 8 years ago, I've told this story a lot, but to cut it short, I put a video out there. It was questioning the military. It was to say, look, we shouldn't be in these countries bombing innocent people. You know, we're not, these people are not heroes. Anyway, this video went viral overnight, over 40,000 hits.
Wow.
But unfortunately for me, it got into military circles, right? So I woke up to, I don't know how many death threats in my Facebook Messenger from all these really angry military guys, right? I wasn't really bothered about that because I know a lot of them are full of hot air, and I was in the middle of Cambodia. I mean, like, it would have been really hard for them to find me.
Find me, guys, find me. Yeah.
Right, yeah. But it was weird. Ever since then, I felt weird, right? I felt like I was walking around in like an energetic suit. I had severe anxiety. I didn't know what the hell was going on. I thought it must have been linked to that because it started literally the day after that. And I tried everything. I tried all these, you know, detoxes and all this stuff. Nothing worked. And then one day, someone suggested to me that they were doing some work, some energy work, and part of it was chakra removal. And I was like, you what? What are you talking about? As most people are. You can't remove. Actually, I didn't think that you couldn't remove your chakras. That's what you hear a lot. You'll die if you remove your chakras. Absolute BS, of course. And it was explained to me that, you know, the chakras are basically an etheric implant that entities lock into our energy field and siphon our energy all day and loop negative mind loops all day. Most of our thoughts, most of our negative thoughts, they're not our own. They're coming from entities, right? So these inorganic thoughts that we're subject to, that they basically torture us with every day. Whatever your thing is, whatever your weakness is, a lot of people have the I'm not good enough thing going on. It's been there subconsciously. We're a slave race, so a lot of us have that. So they'll push on that all day. You're not good enough. No one likes you. You can't do this. You're a failure. You got to yada yada 24/7, right? And so when this was explained to me, it made sense. I was like, do you know what? It would just be like them to make the most beautiful thing, all the rainbow color lotus flowers, the most evil, because they invert everything, don't they? Right. So there was a resonance to what she was saying, even though there was like an initial, not sure about that. And then what I got was like a vision of the Matrix movie where everyone was plugged into those battery things, and I was like, oh my god, this is what it is. And
this is the interface.
Yeah.
It's the interface.
This is the interface, right? And partly out of desperation and partly because it resonated, I was like, okay, just do it, right? And so she did this remotely, and to this day it still sends shivers down my spine as to the difference that I woke up. This cloud had been lifted to me. My mind, the quietness of my mind, I'm not joking you, it's absolutely priceless. It's unbelievable in the fact that this mind chapter that I didn't realize I've been subjected to my entire life had now gone quiet. So anyway, that led me to think what so from there I'm like, okay, so the chakras are bullshit. So I could see no one else was really questioning or saying about that, and I'm like, okay, so it's probably on me to do this, right? So I started putting it out there, and also I was like, I need to learn how to do this stuff, right? Because this is cool. And so I learned how to do that. And then what I found over the months and years is my own psychic abilities started to develop. Now, everyone has psychic abilities. Everyone can do what I do. It's just the problem is it's like a muscle that you don't use, right? It's you don't use it, you lose it. So everyone has clear visual abilities, clear audio abilities, and all that stuff. It's just we're not taught about it in school for obvious reasons, and we don't use them. So there's nothing special about what I do. It's just I've spent 10 years doing it, right? And so from there, I started to see like different things. My clear visual abilities started to increase. I was seeing etheric implants, all the stuff that like Elon Musk is bringing out now with the neurolace and the neuronet. That's already there in the fourth dimension.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like as above, so below. And so, and then I was seeing cords into like these etheric quantum computers. And so it went from just removing that overlay into finding all this other stuff. And really, this is what I do now. I don't even like calling myself a healer. I call myself a shit shifter.
I need to be a shit shifter. I call myself an energy. What do I call myself?
I
Don't know.
but you do use healer a lot, but I like that more.
Yeah.
I started off as a healer, like a physical healer, and over the years, it's become more and more and more energy,
Energetic healing.
and then vortex, and then
Bex, can you quickly tell Tony about your experience with chakras?
oh yeah. So I have visions and all that sort of bollocks, and I have had since a child, but I don't know when it was. When was it?
3 years ago.
I just one time I was in there. I call it going in, right? Because I just go in. And I was there doing something else, and then suddenly my chakras were taken out from the bottom, and it went pop, 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 and it was like a cork.
Yeah, you said it was like a sensation. You could feel the release.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, what the fuck's going on? And they were like, oh, there's only days anymore. And then I got this one that's here between my throat and my heart. There, which is it was just a gold. It was just a gold instead.
Or a dantian.
But I didn't understand what was going on. It was only when Tash talked about you that I went, oh fucking hell, Tash! I told you that
yeah, she told me
already happened. But we sort of, I just thought it was some weird part of the journey that I was on at that in that night, you know, because when I'm on journeys, a lot of stuff happens and I don't necessarily translate it correctly.
Right.
I feel it, but sometimes I learn in retrospect. I've always been taught in retrospect. They put me in the situation. I have to fucking get myself out. And then I learn how to do that for other people.
Yeah, exactly. That's what happened to me. And you know, I started
so
to
what is
remove
this gold, but this gold one, is that okay?
So we still have we have 3 natural chakras, if you like. I don't even like calling them chakras.
No, energy connection point.
So they're known as the dantian points. So there's one around the third eye, the heart, and the sacral. So you still have those. It's just the 7 in the new age are literally an artificial implant. And the same thing happened to me. You know, I removed this stuff, and then, you know, I started working on myself, then other people, and then it just snowballed from there, where now I work on other people, and now I'm teaching people how to remove this stuff themselves as well in the course. So it's gone like full circle, really.
So the energy system, if you like, for want of a better word, is connection here in consciousness, connection of the heart to each other, and connection to the realm. That's how I see it.
Yeah,
that's all you need.
And that's the dantians, which is like that's a Chinese thing, isn't it?
Yeah. The other thing about the chakras, which makes no sense when you think about it logically, is why would an intelligent design compartmentalize our essence energy? Why would it compartmentalize it into 7 sections? It doesn't make sense. And what you find is when you remove that implant is that there is more flow. So you don't have to keep balancing your root chakra, balancing your heart chakra, and all this nonsense. And so it's really incredible. So with these entities, they have more than one ways into our energy field. I want to make that clear to people, because people sometimes assume, okay, well, if I get my chakras removed, I'm never going to have any interference ever again. And it doesn't quite work like that, because these entities have other ways of hijacking our energy. Big one, for example, is when you get triggered, they will hook into any unhealed emotion. Trauma is a massive one, and the more severe trauma, the stronger the entity attachment. For example, when I work on people that have been sexually abused, they tend to have I grade them 1 to 3, these entities, in terms of their levels of strength. So with people that have had abuse, things like that I would class the entity attachment as maybe a level 2. This is where you're getting suicidal thoughts all the time, which aren't your own, and the entity has a lot of control over that soul. A level 1 would obviously be full-on possession. You know, if you've ever seen anyone that taken meths or anything like that. And level 3 are just the general critters. You know, they're whispering in the ear, you know, negative thoughts.
Self-doubt.
They're trying to encourage you. Yeah, try and encourage your bad behaviors. You know, whatever your thing is, they'll be in there and just have that bottle of wine. You know, quit in the morning. Even little things like you might have an idea they don't want you doing anything that's beneficial to you, or that might weaken them. So even if you're thinking, I might go for a walk in nature, they'll be like, it might rain. Why don't you go tomorrow? You know, like just so subtle, right?
Tony.
which is going to empower you and be of service. And they'll be in there, be like, yeah, but what if it doesn't work? You can't do that. You know, you're not experienced. So they're always there trying to take you off your path, trying to waste your time. But so, yeah, just to go back, alcohol, drugs, weed, psychedelics. This is why I'm hated by the psychedelic community, because I say, well, you know, that opens you up. That's when you smash open your consciousness like that, you're opening yourself up to these entities. And
Back
again,
door,
I've
man.
got countless stories.
It's the back door. It's the back door.
Yeah, I have so many stories of where someone's, you know, they've gone to take ayahuasca on Friday, by Monday they're getting suicidal thoughts, right? So they don't want to talk about this in the plant medicine community. So I've got all these angry new agers, I've got all these angry plant medicine people, and so it's kind of a challenge to get people to look at this. And I understand it doesn't feel good in the moment. But if you can take this on board, you know, you can become empowered.
It needs looking at.
It does.
It needs looking at. And I mean, why this is an interesting conversation, Tony, is because I use plant medicine, but as Tash knows, it's done in ceremony, with utter respect, with intention, and with wisdom. It's not taken on a weekend in Spain. You know what I mean? Package holiday. Come over here and do your ayahuasca with us. La, 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 la. No, if you want to do that plant medicine and you want to commune with the intensity of that plant medicine, you need to know what the fuck you're doing and have the right people around holding the space. Otherwise, yeah, of course, everything will come in.
The other thing,
you're doing it without awareness of what you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing about psychedelics, DMT, plant medicine, all that kind of stuff. Don't get me wrong, I've taken it in the past, you know, I don't now, but the thing is, when you take that stuff, all you're doing is you're going into the fourth dimension. You're only seeing another layer of the matrix. So a lot of people come away thinking they've had all these incredible insights. And of course, you know, they will throw a few nuggets of truth in there. But we go way beyond the fourth dimension and this matrix. This is what people need to understand, is that you know, when you're taking that stuff, you're just having a peek into the next layer next to us. You're not experiencing the full.
So do you think it gives a false sense of this is what's there, when actually there's
so much more.
Yeah, and they want you to think that the fourth dimension is all that's there, because what happens when you die, you know, you go to the fourth dimension and
get
you know there's
back.
the soul trap, and that's another huge topic that we can go into if you want.
Yeah,
but
we like that.
Yeah, so the thing is as well, people are so because something's old or ancient, you know, there's this, well, the chakras are old. Well, you know, they used to do this back in Tibet times, and I'm like, yeah, we've been slaves for millennia, right? So this stuff is obviously not working. Yoga, meditation, all this stuff is not working for people. So we need to put everything on the table and have a look at it again. And people have got their vices, the things that they like, and I get it, right? But if we're truly serious about getting out of this shithole, right, we got to put everything on the table and say, okay, and look at it with fresh eyes.
Absolutely.
But so many people are in their feelings, you know, particularly new agers. They don't want to hear it. They just want to, because a lot of it's escapism, you know, as well. Is a lot of it is people are looking, because let's face it, the human experience, it's not the most, you know, it's tough, right?
Yeah.
We've all had different levels of trauma and all that kind of stuff, some more than others. And the new age, it captures a lot of very traumatized souls. And of course, they gravitate there. And the new age will tell them, you don't need to look at your problems, because that's negative. That's going to lower your vibration. You just got to be toxic positivity. And even though, you know, you had all this abuse and stuff, just think love and light, and you'll raise your frequency, and you're going to wake up one day in the new earth, and you're going to sit on the rainbow bridge eating rainbow drops, right? It's just
very true.
And of course that feels amazing. I completely get it. I mean, who wouldn't want to do that? Who doesn't want to hang out with Archangel Michael, where he guides you and all your decisions in your life, so you don't have to take any personal responsibility? Like your guides are just gonna, you know, they're gonna tell you what to do. Like people want to be told what to do. They want to rely on something else because it makes them feel good. Then they don't have to do it. And what that does, it takes us away from our sovereignty. It takes us away from self-responsibility. And the stuff in like the new age and all this stuff, it's an addiction. You know, there's no difference from someone that wants to, I don't know, like do a gong bath every day and like all this stuff to someone that's drinking every day, because they're trying to do the same thing. They're trying to escape themselves.
Feeling
So
something.
Yeah.
they're feeling something because no one wants to do the inner work. So people gravitate towards these things because they're running away from themselves and they don't want to spend the weeks, months and years doing the work that really needs to be done, which is the inner work. Yeah, it's a right mess out there. And of course, you know, these people will gravitate towards the new age healers, and they're all working with entities. So when that healer's working with you, you know, that entity is working through the healer, and then they're getting attached and all this kind of stuff. So it's a real mess out there in the quote unquote healing world. Now, I'm not saying that a lot of healers don't have good intentions or they're evil. I'm not saying that, but they don't understand what they're doing. What they're working with. They're falling into the new age. They're not questioning these entities that they're working with. And so then they arrive at my door, you know, 10 years deep, $10,000 on all these healing modalities. They're feeling drained. They're feeling like shit. Everything's gone wrong in their life for a lot of people. And it's like, yeah, I mean, you've been connecting with all these entities for the last 5 years. And so, you know, this was the other reason that I put the course together, is that so people can become proficient healers and learn to shift themselves and really, you know, take the baton and run with it. So it's a mess out there. And of course, you know, when you call it out, people don't want to hear it. And so, but, you know, I say on my YouTube channel, what do you want? Do you want to feel good in the moment? Because the new age will do that, all this other stuff that'll make you feel great in the moment. But when it comes down the line, and then, you know, you're talking of like soul trap levels, if you've still got those rigid belief systems in like angels and stuff, that's going to be used against you at death, because they're going to use angels to hook you back round again. And then you're back down here, memory wiped, everything you've learned in this lifetime, you've forgotten.
And you've got to do it all again.
You've got to do it all again. You're going to be used as a battery again. So the payoff for people in this lifetime, if they don't get it right, is huge. And I don't think people really get the gravity of the importance of this lifetime for people, because right now we have this window of opportunity, and they know.
Yeah, this is showdown. This is showdown right now.
Yeah,
there's loads. I believe there's loads of people here from all over the place right now. You know, I mean, I'm pretty controversial myself, aren't I, Tash?
It's different.
I don't work like normal healers. I don't see my clients. I journey for them, and I journey through their energy fields, and I remove trauma and entities and shit like that.
And junction boxes.
Oh yeah. So yeah, I call them AI. They're AI. They're different. They're non-organic. I remove organic and non-organic.
The entities. The entities.
Like attachments.
No, the AI are like implants and attachments. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the entities themselves, they're not source connected. They're like one-trick ponies. They're programmed. So yeah, we're basically living in like a computer game. But right now, this particular matrix is coming to like a fork in the road, and we either go deeper into technological enslavement, which is going to end up in you know, something called consciousness transference.
Yeah.
Or humans finally get their shit together, and we genuinely raise our frequency, not love and light BS, by doing the work, by avoiding all this stuff that causes us to feel like shit. And so, you know, this is why people have to get it right when it comes to the truth. Now, I'm not saying I know everything, and I've still got a lot to learn. But it
we all have. Yeah, we all have.
yeah, people just they still want to go with what feels good. They still want to go with what they want to believe in. Like the truth doesn't care about anyone's belief systems. This is what people kind of grasp. The truth is subjective. It just is. And like the new ages will tell you that, oh well, it's your truth and this is my truth. Well, it don't work like that. The sky's always going to be, the sky's always going to be blue as much as you want it to be red. I'm sorry. And so like people don't realize that this lifetime is this is the one. This is the one. We need to nail it. You need people individually need to nail it. We need to let go of all these rigid matrix belief systems. Realize that these entities are masquerading as whatever your flavor is, you know. And when you look into the soul trap and NDEs and pre-birth memories, you know, these entities, they're friggin' evil. They will masquerade as your dead pet at the point of death to try and shoehorn you back around here. And it's really hard for people to hear this. You know, I understand people want to feel comfort, and this place is hard enough as it is. But, you know, I'm like that friend that tells you what you need to hear rather than what you want to hear.
As you got BO or whatever.
Yeah, look, can you just, like, I'm not being funny, Tash, but can you use that deodorant once in a while, right? You'll be like,
we say on podcast, don't we? We've sniffed our pits and gone, I smell of you always think you smell of celery.
I smell of celery.
No, you don't. You smell lovely.
Exactly, but you know, you'd thank me for it. You'd be like, oh, thanks. I can't believe you're walking around smelling like this, and that's like a true friend, right? And that's the way I see what I'm doing. I'm like, I'm not here to make you feel good. I'm not here to mollycoddle you. I'm here to deliver what I'm pretty sure is kind of, it's on the money, more or less, right?
Yeah.
Like I say, there's more to learn, but from the experience of working with thousands of clients, clearing this stuff, seeing how people have got themselves tied up in knots with working with all this stuff and these entities, moon worship, God knows what else. It needs to be called out and it needs to be questioned. And so,
because actually, if we can understand how energy, because I think everything's about energy. Everything in this realm is about energy, and that's why we're always pushed to take note of the material and not the energy behind the material. Energy before matter, and through that we become empowered to use that energy and work with it. And they're desperate for us to not ever understand how to utilize and harness our own energy and step into that and be empowered by that. Because once that happens,
game over, isn't it?
Game over. Nobody can, you know, once you're in your own power, it's very hard for you to, I mean, I say it's very hard for you to be attacked, you know, by entities and all that. It's certainly, I still have issues with it.
Do you protect yourself against entities, Tony?
Yeah, there is something to be said for shielding, but what I talk about in my course is I feel like the best form of defense is attack, because if you can feel when I mean, I can feel pretty much instantly when something's come in, and you know, if you can just clear it and sense it, then you're always going to be able to liberate yourself in the moment from whatever it is.
But these days, I just tell it to fuck off, like I would a man. If a man walked in here and touched me, I go fuck off.
I mean, I've heard some degree of success with that. Personally, I just delete them. I just like delete them out, right? Because then I know that they can't come back, or that particular entity can't come back. So I mean, there's a whole plethora of different entity races out there: spider entities, octopus entities, serpent entities, and they all like different things. You know, I work on. There's like what I call a cocaine entity, right? And I see him, and he's got like a sharp nose and like little black eyes.
I can imagine.
There's the ayahuasca entities. There's the there's all kinds of. They all kind of attach to them. I find that a lot of young people have like these alien entities for some reason, because they're just masquerading as well. And I don't know why the greys or those kind of entities tend to have interest in younger generations, like in the 20s. And
I've worked with some schizophrenics, young men, when I'm taking their entities off them, I've come across characters from computer games that have manifested as an entity that is
through the gaming.
Yeah, also a lot of characters in horror movies are actually entities. So for example, the dude out of Saw, you know, that thing out of Saw, obviously. I mean, you've got witch entities, gargoyle entities, you've got genie entities.
I talked about them. Yeah, I get them a lot with depressed people.
Yeah, depressed people have the genie, don't they?
Oh, there's actually a depressed entity that when I see, he's like big and fat, and he's got like a
like
big
this.
fat head like this, and he's like, and he looks depressed.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, there's so much out there, and we don't know the half of how we're being hijacked. But I like to spin it on its head because you know, people hear this and they're like, oh, we're screwed. And I'm like, no, you have to spin it on head. Why are they doing this to us? Because they know how frigging powerful we are, right? They know that we are these amazing creative beings. We're the creator beings here, not them. And if left unchecked, without all the interference, not just in the astral, but what they're doing to us in the physical, we would create an absolute paradise here. And so they have to do these things to us, otherwise there's no food for them. So
and they're actually very easy to get rid of. Tony, we're going to get cut off in a minute because of our wonderful censorship over Zoom. So we're going to do a part 2. And I think it would be good to empower people by talking a bit about how that realm works, you know, how that space works, the void, I call it, whatever, and how easy it is to, you know, to deal with these entities.
I'd like to talk a bit about yoga as well.
Oh yeah.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
So what you're going to send me? You're going to send me another link, or is it this?
Yeah, I'll send you another link.